The Fox City SCORE chapter and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences from starting to sustaining growth. Learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you missed anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at biztalkwithscore.com. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
Good morning and welcome to Biz Talk with SCORE. I'm your host this week, Terry Pinch, and joining me as co-host is a amazingly quiet and reserved Rick Sent. How are you this week, Rick?
Good. No, I'm doing fine, Terry. I'm doing fine.
Good. So, thank you for joining, Rick. And this week we have a special guest, Jennifer Fietz from Imaginasium. And it's a really interesting company that works with manufacturers in Northeast Wisconsin and to really help them with an aspect of the business that many of them haven't had a lot of experience with. So we'd like to welcome Jennifer Fietz to the show. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. So as we get started, let's start with a little bit of what we were talking about before we came on air, Jen. Could you tell us how you got into this business? And then we'll go into what Imaginasium does from there.
Sure. So I spent 20 years in marketing on the financial services side and lost my job in 2015. And our agency of record at the time said, come and work for us. It'll be a piece of cake. You'll love it. And what I found it to be was one of the most difficult things was really going and doing marketing and sales for a variety of different companies. You'd go from one day working with an orthodontics office, and then the next day going to perhaps a manufacturer where you're helping a company that builds conveyor systems. And so what I had known as being on the corporate side in financial services, that it's very hard to get to know an industry and really become an expert in marketing and sales solutions if you're bouncing from industry to industry. And fast forward through my time there, was the most humbling part of my career because I learned how difficult it was to be in the agency world. And the prior owner of Imaginasium actually found me at this agency and said, come and work with me. And he was close to his retirement phases. So we started talking about maybe the opportunity of me purchasing his agency from him. And one of the agreements was that we were going to start to make some changes because my time in corporate America did help me see some of the flaws in the agency environment. And so I was able to pick, we got to pick a sector and we got to become experts in that sector. And arguably manufacturing such a large sector that we could start to even hone in even more targeted within the manufacturing industry. The upper Midwest is filled with manufacturers who need marketing and sales support. So we started focusing there and started really determining what is it that manufacturers need from us, because I understand the love language of the C-suite, which is revenue. So marketing and salespeople are typically given some pretty lofty, hefty goals. And I think being able to design a plan around what those goals are is critical. And a lot of our manufacturers, I would argue, are underserved from a marketing and sales support perspective. So being able to really devise a plan that the C-suite can say, oh yeah, that looks like something that's going to point us in the right direction to hit the goals that we need to hit. And COVID really changed the landscape of a lot of things, but in the manufacturing world, it changed the way marketing and sales and HR they need one another. We used to work as three separate functions inside a corporate environment, and I often discuss the fact that they're a triangle, and one of them does not succeed unless the others are succeeding. So marketing's generating great leads, and sales is bringing in that new business. But if we don't have the people to fill the gaps and fill the roles of the needs, filling our manufacturing facilities, then we're going to struggle. And so I think one of the greatest things that I've been able to convert the agency to is a company that's really supporting so growth plans, solutions that are really building out these manufacturing environments so they're all aligned for operational growth.
So when we talk to a lot of people in public and they talk about marketing, they think about advertising, they think about flyers at grocery stores, whether it's digital or in paper. But when you come to manufacturing, marketing's quite different. So as you change worlds from a generalist and really moved into the manufacturing side, what aspects of marketing did you decide were most important for you to work on with your company?
Yeah, I think the greatest things that we talk about are the things that you've been doing for the last 50 years are still valid things. They just have to be part of a more comprehensive plan. Do you still need to run some level of print advertisement? Absolutely, because we've got our organizations that we're members of that are still printing magazines that you have your key target audiences are receiving those. So there's print and billboards. I mean, we still run there's still value in having billboards, but I think that has to be paired with a really great digital strategy as well. We laugh a lot with our clients because we all despise website work because it is a necessary evil. It is your digital storefront, and it costs money not only to build that, but you have to be maintaining it. You have to be updating it. It needs to have fresh messaging and constant refreshing done. The days of setting and forgetting your website for 5 years, they're gone. And so having a real comprehensive plan around what that site looks like and who it's speaking to and how it is generating revenue for you is really important. And so that's like table stakes. So the site has to be in place, but then now those traditional pieces now with, the QR codes, which never thought was coming back, but COVID hit and nobody wanted to touch a menu anymore. And now they're back and they're really, really a valid piece of a digital marketing strategy because we can better track things on the traditional space, so we're running ads and that has a QR code. We can start to really see the traffic that's coming from those pieces that perhaps we couldn't track before. And it just fell in the, well, we got to do it because we got to do it kind of thing, but we don't really know if it adds any value. I'd say the same with conference marketing. One of the greatest things we get asked from our C-suite folks is help me showcase return on investment on these expensive conferences that, again, we have to have people at. If we're not there, people wonder what's wrong with why they aren't there. We're really trying to build different ways to showcase how valuable those conferences can be instead of just going, I don't know where the money goes and if it brought us any business. So we build out comprehensive plans. And I think most of the time, manufacturers they've got all their eggs in one basket. They're doing one type of thing and they haven't laid out like, hey, we're going to keep all of these things going and we're going to give you what's working and what's not. Hey, this didn't work. We thought it would work. It didn't work. Let's replace it with a new initiative. So I think that's probably the biggest education that they go through is, oh, okay, this takes a real strategic plan in order to really point things at growth. And they don't want to talk about brand awareness. That stuff all has to just happen with the work that we're doing. And I think I get a little scared about even talking about marketing because it has a bad reputation inside of corporate America. And so we really have to start thinking about how we hold ourselves accountable as an agency to say, no, I'm going to help you hit that growth goal. And my name is on the line. I'm not just going to produce leads or tell you your brand awareness is X, Y, and Z. No, we are a committed, collaborative team that's going to work with your team to make sure that we grow your business.
So there's a great story there then about how you're combining the marketing and traditional approach they're used to with the new digital type of era and trying to overcome what we see and agree with you on is that I don't know if it's fear, but dislike of some of the things that happened with marketing. Like, I don't know how much money return I'm getting on this stuff and all that. So you're trying to combine the three to take them into the future then.
Exactly. Exactly. We're really, and I'm willing to say that we've got some bad actors in our industry as an agency, and we're really trying to help overcome that to some degree. So I spend a lot of time on the prospecting side or out in the community talking to manufacturers about how we're different, and they have to give us a chance to understand, like, hey, we're not trying to just execute a project for you. We want to work with you our plans are 3-year plans. We put 3-year growth plans in place, and we've got milestones where we're showcasing return on investment quickly so that they can quickly see, like, okay, she told us the truth and she actually is standing by what she committed to doing for our organization.
Okay. So, let's just step back a little bit and can you outline what services are provided? What
Sure.
all different things do you do specifically with manufacturers?
Sure. So we have what I call like a 5-staged plan, growth plan, and a growth planning process. And so we cannot be experts within your industry until we take the time to get to know you as a company. And so we spend, the first 12 weeks just talking to customers, talking to stakeholders, talking to employees. We have a research platform that we use to be able to go and understand the industry. What's the growth opportunity? We're really looking to make sure that, okay, you're trying to grow 20% in the next year. Can we do that? So really understanding the culture of the company as well. We're really looking for companies that are trying to grow and grow rapidly. From there, we lay out a roadmap, and that roadmap has typically a website focus in it. So there almost always manufacturers need some level of update to their website. So there's some type of design or redesign plan there, as well as content strategy, because search engine optimization, I'm going to try not to use jargon, is content that's built on your site based on keywords that your audience is searching for on the web. We want to pull that into your website. And so the technical infrastructure of your website needs to be built in a way that's taking into account the actual search terms that we would want them. Hey, come to us. You're looking for what we're selling. So there's always a website component. There is a digital marketing component where we're looking at the entire buying funnel. So you've got your brand awareness at the top. So we're building out content strategies that are case study driven. Typically, manufacturers do not do a good job of talking about themselves and all their success stories. So what case studies do we think people need to start understanding about capabilities and services and offerings that are really going to start to put that company at the top of mind for future buyers? And then we just work down the sales funnel, and we understand that this customer is ready to buy. We've got ads that are running in search, so Google and Bing. We've got social media. Typically, LinkedIn is where we are focused on running actual formal ads. And then we're doing what we call, outside of digital, we're doing traditional support. And so that is conferences, any type of traditional media, media buys, and with organizational partners, things like that. So our plans, I just spoke very high level, but they're usually consumed with those types of activities.
Excellent. We are at the point where we're going to take our first break.
Okay.
You are listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back. We're glad you joined us this morning. Our guest is Jen Fietz from Imaginasium. Before continuing our conversation with Jen, I'd like to tell you about Score Northeast Wisconsin. Score Northeast Wisconsin serves an 18-county area in northeast Wisconsin, plus a county in Menominee in Michigan. We have about 50 volunteers, each an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no-cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, HR, best practices, and many others. In order to register for no-cost confidential mentoring sessions and or learn more about SCORE Northeast Wisconsin, visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. That's all one word. You can learn more about how the SCORE chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to SCORE, and within a few days, a SCORE mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, SCORE is no cost and offers experts who can help you in many different areas. To get started, visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. To support small business people, SCORE Northeast Wisconsin is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you'd like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application. We'll get back to you and explain more. Thanks again for joining us in Biz Talk. And now back to Jen. And Jen, in the first session, we talked a little bit about strategy and the transition between phases of the work you do with clients. Let's go back and talk a little bit more about that whole piece of strategy, and that how do you convince your clients that they even need a marketing strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I'm typically in discussions with a, executive level marketing or salesperson who has posed a challenge to us that they need a broader plan to hit some type of growth goal. And what happens is there's some conversations that happen between our team here and them to say, we've got to sit down with the C-suite and we've got to talk to them about what this is going to look like. And just like the word marketing is kind of taboo, strategy is too, because it's been overused. It means something different to everyone you talk to. And I think the reason we're able to kind of overcome that barrier in conversation is that once we start talking about where companies need to go and by when, we're able to showcase the fact that you need most of our manufacturers that we talk to, and all of them that we work with, they need outside perspective. They need somebody to see things they can't see because they're too close to it. They have this desire and want to grow their businesses, but things are moving so fast and so quickly. They have not slowed down since the pandemic. We all thought we'd start to feel a little bit of break happening, and it didn't. And so we're moving at such a rapid pace. And as you start adding on AI and these digital capabilities and the changes that are happening inside our manufacturing facilities, where the automation track is just moving quickly, they need a company, a strategic company, not to use the word that everybody feels is undefined. They need somebody on the outside saying, okay, we understand everything you're trying to do, not just your marketing and sales goals, but everything you're trying to do, even on the production and operation side, so we can see what the growth looks like, what the growth plan looks like. And now we've got this map that the entire company is using, because part of our process is to really look at optimizing operations. You can't just put a growth plan in place for marketing and sales. You've got to put it in place for the entire company. And so now the company's got this thing that they're looking at and going, okay, we understand where we're going, and we can start to see what things need to be propped up in order for us to hit those goals.
And one of the really neat things I saw as I was looking through your website is the amount of work you do on recruiting and retaining. And that builds directly off some of the strategy, the idea of a strategy, and making sure you can actually implement it, doesn't it?
It does, because you can help your marketing and sales team build massive growth. But if you haven't looked at resource planning, and that's resource planning for human beings that you need to actually run your production facility, but also what does the production facility look like? If we're going to pile in this growth, We need the operation side of the business to understand what that looks like to start to prepare for what those needs are. And they could be not just humans, but other things that need to happen. And so when you think strategy, it should feel like a big word that has a plan, and it's a multitude of things. I think too often in the past, we're running in functional silos, everybody kind of running their own little individual businesses inside our corporations. And we just can't do that anymore. We need a growth plan to be able to kind of move the business forward.
And does that idea of a growth plan that resonate more with the manufacturers you're talking to?
I think so. I think it's having the right conversation and showcasing not only, hey, we work in manufacturing, but we've got a lot of experience in printing and packaging. We've got a lot of experience in paper. We've got a lot of experience in food manufacturing. So I think it's a little bit in what our experience is as a team for us to be able to say we've worked with other companies like yours, and so these are the things that we've done and we've seen happen. I think that helps. But yeah, I think focusing it on growth and focusing the entire team behind that is important. I think it generates some excitement and some confidence in our ability then to step away from the C-suite and work with the functional teams to be able to make it happen.
Okay. And so we're coming up to the point where we're going to take our next break. But in the third segment, we're going to talk a lot about the recruitment and retention aspect, but we'll build into all of those different aspects of building a good plan that you've talked through and how you make that happen. So it's a great story. And again, we have a lot of manufacturers around here, so it's really interesting to see somebody coming in and really helping those manufacturers focus on what they need to do. So thank you very much, and we will be right back after this break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY. Welcome back to Biz Talk with Score. We're talking with Jen Fietz from Imaginasium in Green Bay and talking a lot about manufacturing and support for manufacturing and their marketing and other strategies. And before we get back to Jen, there's a couple things I want to mention that are coming up that may be of interest to people. So if you go to our website, score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, again, all one word, you'll see a tab for workshops and events. And we have literally hundreds of webinars, mostly free, that are going on every week. And there's two I want to mention because they're becoming quite topical right now, and they may be of help for people. But one of them is called Artificial Intelligence and Nonprofits. And that webinar is helping people discover how nonprofits can use artificial intelligence to improve grant writing, fundraising, and donor engagement while keeping a human touch. So that's on December 2nd at 10 o'clock Central. So again, you go on the workshops and events tab, and over on the left, you click local because that's a regional event rather than national, but you'll find some good information there and an opportunity for nonprofits to learn how they should use artificial intelligence. Another one that's out there for small companies is one that's called How You Can Use Artificial Intelligence to Improve Your Website. And that's on December 5th, and it's at 12 o'clock Central Time. Again, it's no cost, but it's there for very small companies who do their own websites and want some help thinking through how artificial intelligence can help it. So it's an opportunity to learn and see if there's something there for you until you get to a growth stage where you can go out and hire somebody like Jen and her business and help them make you grow. So again, score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, and the workshop is in events tabs, and there's regular artificial intelligence and other webinars out there. And it's a great way to start to learn before you implement and maybe get you thinking about what help you need as you do that. So now we're going to turn back to Jen. And Jen, what I want to get into now and talk a little bit more about is this whole aspect of recruitment and retention. Because 20 years ago, marketing agencies wouldn't have done this. Now they've got to be integrated into all aspects of the business. And you've written in blogs about it and in other areas, and it's really interesting to see how recruitment and retention is becoming so important for manufacturers. Can you talk a little bit about why this matters so much to the people in the area?
Yeah, so our organization spends a lot of time in Madison trying to better educate ourselves on the issues that manufacturers are facing. And a recent survey put out by Wisconsin Manufacturing and Commerce out of Madison stated that 72% of businesses say they still struggle to find employees in the state of Wisconsin. So it is still an issue. And what I'm hearing even more now that as I'm staying involved with the groups that I'm in is on the manufacturing side is that finding skilled workers. So finding the workers that have the skills to be able to do the work that needs to be done. As we advance technologies inside our manufacturers, there is an education gap right now. So we've got many great groups in the state of Wisconsin that are focused on upskilling employees, people, preparing what it looks like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, in order to make sure that we have the right educated workforce to run our manufacturing facilities. So that's the why. We started running our first recruitment marketing plan in 2019. So that was my first year here at Imaginasium, was the first year we ran a recruitment plan. And it is really, I am very much behind the fact that you cannot have immense growth strategies with marketing and sales if you have not considered the resources that are needed. We didn't have to worry about this in the past, and we have to worry about it now, not just in the state of Wisconsin. The entire country struggles to fill manufacturing roles. And so really understanding if you're going to help a manufacturer grow, you've got to understand what their workforce looks like and to help them build a really great plan around it. The biggest change that I think is happening from a marketing perspective is there's something called an employer brand. And so your employer brand is who you are as an employer to the public. And as anybody who works with I used to work in a manufacturer in college, so I know what it's like. We don't do a great job generally as businesses talking about ourselves, but I think manufacturers are even more silent and quiet about who they are. And you can't do that anymore. If you want people to want to come and work for you, they are researching to see, what is this company like? Why would I work there? How do they treat their employees? And there's a multitude of digital outlets they can go to research your company. And so really focusing on who you are as an employer and what you have to offer the workforce it's a big part of the game that we play on the growth side, is being able to make sure that we have a full stacked workforce.
Okay. So when you're recruiting, what tools work?
So this is it's very, really interesting. It's very similar to the marketing and sales side, which is why it was surprising to me when I ran my first recruitment plan in 2019, was a lot of the things are the same. The most important thing to know before you even get into the tactics is we're in a passive work environment, which means 70% of the market, and it has been since 2019, 70% or more is passive, meaning they're not out looking for jobs. So now more than ever, we need marketing initiatives to get in front. We have to go where we believe the ideal candidate lives, works, plays. We have to think of all of those things, because job boards, I know everybody hears Indeed, and it's good to have some presence in those places, but if your ideal candidate is likely not looking for a job, you got to get your brand in front of them so that they understand that there's an option out there and it might be better than the one you have. Some of the tactics we use kind of very similar on the marketing side. We still need the traditional. We still run billboards. We still run radio advertisements. We run Spotify, digital radio. We do digital ads. We run a lot of Facebook ads. So believe it or not, like one of our biggest word of mouth hooks is mom or grandma sees an ad for a job that they tell, so-and-so, hey, honey, you should go apply for this job. So really thinking through all of the multitude of things and ways that you would want to attract in that workforce. One of the newer things that many people have probably heard of is geo-targeting or geo-fencing. So looking at geographies, geo-targeting meaning, we're in Shawano County and we want to target these types of people in Shawano County with a mailer. And that postcard has a QR code that's driving traffic to a website landing page about the job that we're trying to fill. So that's one example. Geofencing is, Luke Combs has a concert at the Resch Center, and we want to geofence the entire area around the Resch Center. So there's lots of digital types of things that we do, but it kind of goes back to our marketing approach. You can't just do one of those things. And I think that's what manufacturers are. They're looking for a silver bullet approach, and it's just not how it works. They need to be multifaceted. They need to be tested. For one company, certain tactics might work great that don't work for other companies based on lots of different details around who that company is. So a good employer brand with kind of a multifaceted plan, it's really important.
Okay. So one aspect of a good employer brand that is becoming more and more important is retention. So can you talk about the importance of what I think you call the employee experience to recruiting and retention?
Yes. So I think this is where we've gotten a lot of experience working with HR teams, because they understand that they might need the marketing team to help run those ads on Facebook or design their billboards and do whatever we're doing on the marketing side. But they're very, very becoming, if they aren't already, they're becoming very attuned with what it costs to hire that individual and then what it costs to retain them. And so when you design your employer brand, getting them in the door and hired is only like the first part of this. Keeping them on is actually the harder piece. And so we work with companies to be able to, you design that brand. What is it? What does it mean to work here? What does it mean to be a part of this company's workforce? And what things are happening regularly to ensure that we do those things. And it sounds silly, but manufacturers do it. Most of them have employee surveys that they run on at least every other year. They're at least running a survey. I mean, we encourage them to be done every year, if not every 6 months, because of the cost that goes into bringing and building this workforce. You got to understand where the pain points might be for those employees. And so there's so much great information in those. And a lot of times manufacturers get that information and you get distracted. You're running this big business. HR is distracted. They're just trying to fill the leaky bucket holes, and marketing's got their focus. So being able to take that data and build a plan off it, your employees will be very open with you and tell you what they want and what will make them happy and what will keep them. So using that survey to really build out a long-term plan, and it kind of goes back to the same marketing and sales conversation I had with you earlier, is what does that strategy look like that's pointed at retention? We want to have a 90% retention rate, and switching your language from turnover, because a lot of companies talk turnover, which is negative, right? Being able to say those people are gone. We should be talking about the retention, and get your team on board with it's the same strategic wrap with your team to say our retention goal for 2025 is 90%. And now everyone's working towards something that you're trying to achieve as a company. Because I think one of the things that we overlook from a company perspective is when people are leaving around me and I'm staying, it's painful for me. So I want people to stay too, which now you start opening up a culture where people are comfortable giving feedback and feel like they have a part in building and growing the culture of the organization.
So earlier you mentioned, we talked about really getting to know the manufacturer first, but it sounds like this is where it's really important for recruiting and retention too, is to get to understand those employees. But how do you, one, gain that understanding and turn it into programs or approaches that can help with retention?
Yeah. So, one of a very common piece of our planning with HR teams is to go in and do focus group studies, and they don't come. HR doesn't come. No one from the company comes. I've done third shift focus group studies with companies where we are literally sitting down and talking with them about what they love, because that helps build your brand. What do people love about working there? What types of people work there? So it's good for us as the partner that's helping them build this employer brand to be able to really sit side by side with the employees that work there and talk about the things that are great, but then to also talk about the things that aren't. And sometimes some of the things that, like, one of my most favorite stories is that an employee, this group of employees that I was on night shift with doing this focus group, one of the gentlemen's like, gosh, it'd be really great if we just had like coffee here, like fresh coffee. And I'm sure this was years ago, so I'm sure most companies have coffee now, but it was so easy. And the president looked at me and said, that's it? Like, you just need fresh coffee here. So there's little things that a lot of people in those roles are not going to speak up unless you pull it out of them. And so sitting down and me getting the trust, or my team getting the trust to be able to sit down with employees with nobody else around. And we might record those things, but we never provide the raw data. I'm sorry, we provide the raw data. We never provide who said what or the recording. So they get like a raw printout of it, but they have to trust us to say what they need to say as well. And they feel heard. So I think sometimes it's just, wow, I feel heard. I feel like they wanted our feedback, and it's just a lot of digging in and pulling information out.
Okay. So as you look at where we are with recruitment retention in the area, what's your opinion about what we need to do both as a region, manufacturers, and government, nonprofits, et cetera? What has to be done to help resolve the long-term issues of finding employees in this area?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. So the truth is, our population, at least in the state of Wisconsin, we don't have the population to meet the demand. So we've got a couple of things that we need to consider there. We need to look at how do we recruit people to move here and take some of our open positions, because we've got a lot of job opportunity here. So that is a big piece of it. I think it's getting out into middle schools and high schools, and I don't mean just to the kids, I mean to the parents. I worked at a paper company in the 90s while I was in college, and I spend a lot of time in these manufacturing facilities today, and they're not the same. It's not the same environments. They're bright and clean, and there's less laborious kinds of jobs, a lot of automation, a lot of technology. I mean, it's one of my most favorite things to do is to get a tour. So I think at least, and parents that are my age, in their 40s and 50s, they need to go see what these manufacturing facilities look like, because they're not the dark, dingy kind of things that we were used to when we were younger. I think it's okay for our young community to be interested in going into manufacturing. I've met the most amazing women who work in manufacturing and run massive machines and are responsible for large pieces of equipment and technology that really push these companies forward. And so I think we got to find a way to reverse the stigma around manufacturing jobs, because it's not the same as it used to be. And so both those last two things, that's like, I believe, statewide, even national campaigns. We've got to change the way we think about manufacturing.
Yeah. And I just add a point. I worked in a manufacturing location in North Carolina for about 4.5 years. And I went through a transition. It was a former textile mill, 75 years old when I left. And I went from the transition where they took it from it was updated, but an older mill and millions of dollars of investment to a newer mill. And the environment was completely different. Whereas on one of my first days there, they told me, oh, just go out to the Butler building behind and you'll find your meeting room. And then they quietly laughed to themselves as I went out in the maze of the mill and got lost and took 35 minutes to get there because of how it was set up. To the point when I left, there was no getting lost. All the rooms were gone. It was done in the right way. And it really changed people. You painted the walls. You put in new lights, and it just changed how people felt.
Changes everything. Yes.
Yeah. So really great story. We're going to come back and wrap this up after this break. But you're listening to Biz Talk with SCORE on WHBY. I'll be right back. I would like to thank the sponsors and donors who bring Biz Talk with SCORE to you each weekend. We couldn't present Biz Talk without their generous support. Thank you to Haley & Associates. Haley & Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan ahead, helping you to minimize taxes for this year and beyond. Haley & Associates, personal connection, positive results. A special thank you to the Business News for promoting our program in the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. If you don't already subscribe to the Business News, you should. It's delivered bi-weekly and contains relevant and useful information about the business community in Northeast Wisconsin. And we would also like to recognize the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Fund within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region for their generous donation and support of Biz Talk and SCORE Northeast Wisconsin. With that, we'll turn back to Jen. And Jen, could you let our listeners know how they could get a hold of you and Imaginasium?
Yeah, you can find us online at Imaginasium.com, or you're more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. My last name's Fietz.
Okay. As people who are listening in will have realized, you're pretty enthusiastic about manufacturing and the work that you're doing. And can you talk about then what you see? What makes you so optimistic about the future of your company and manufacturing in this area?
Yeah, I think one of the common themes is manufacturing is not dying. It's alive. And I think to go along with the stigma conversation, we have to understand that manufacturing is foundational to who we are as a state and a country. And I'm just really excited with what I'm seeing from manufacturers as far as innovation, not only innovation in production, but innovation in their workforce solutions and how they're bringing good things to their employees and their teams. I just think the future is very, very bright for the manufacturing sector.
Okay. And as you look at your business, how do you expect to evolve to support manufacturers?
I think we're putting together a real concrete growth manufacturing accelerator. That's just a strategic planning process that really helps us step manufacturers through each phase to be able to point them at whatever their growth goals might be. And so we're seeing that there's a desire and a need for real strategic planning. And we're excited to be able to bring that to the manufacturing space and to be able to help manufacturers really focus not only their goals, but focus their teams around a common vision.
Okay. So as you look at where you are right now, we'd like to say first, we think it's great that you're offering this type of service in the area. It's really important, and like the fact that manufacturers are starting to get the support because we see that they need it. So first of all, thank you for that. And then we'd also like to thank you very much for being on the show. For us, there's an opportunity to learn more about how manufacturers can get the support they need, not just in marketing, but in integrated strategy for manufacturers. And we really appreciate you being on.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope you both have a great holiday.
Okay, thank you.
You
And
too.
for our listeners, you've been listening to Biz Talk with Score. We really appreciate you being here. You can go to our website at biztalkwithscore.com to hear previous episodes, and this one will be added if you want to listen to Jen and all the great things she has to say again. It'll be on next Wednesday. So we really appreciate it. Again, everybody, have a great weekend. Happy Thanksgiving, and take care of yourselves. Bye.